Hello, welcome back. Let's discover Saturn in signs. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and Capricorn is the ruler of the 10th house, or Saturn is the ruler of the 10th house, the house of career, government, and structure. When Saturn is traveling around the zodiac, we are facing changes in the structure of the world and of society. Saturn completing a cycle every 30 years. And this is meaning that Saturn will spend 2.5 to 3 years in each zodiac sign. This is including retrograde phases that Saturn have every year, usually between April to October. Saturn in Aries will describe a period of the structure of the world that is ruling and structuring the individual and on businesses to take new endeavors. The period of Saturn in Aries will introduce to us not just the environment, but the background of what is happening in the politics. In Aries, those are going to be 2-3 years of sometimes dictatorships, rulership, and applying new rules, remodeling the old non-working regulation. Saturn in Aries will challenge, because with Saturn is always a challenge, it's hardship, is where we really need to put the effort in order to start a new chapter. This is about beginning a new government concept, to remodel or to model or to apply a new standard of how business is working, about how society is managed, and it's very much to start a new phase. It's a new phase of a new structure. We can understand already before its end because we arrive to Aries from Saturn in Pisces. For example, Saturn in Pisces is going to be already in 2023, and it will last 2 years. So it's going to be the loss of the old structure. Saturn in Aries, if I'm not mistaken, will take part from 2026, and this is the remodeling and the apply of new structure in society and government's operation. It also was happening in 1995 after the failure of the Soviet Union and all what applied through this. And this is a new remodeling of a society management. Taurus, that's ruled by Venus, is more sustainable timing for restructuring and making things work and connecting with resources, and very much about modeling the resources of countries and valuing the monetary, a lot of things about foundation of new banks or new currencies. This is where people can get new access for properties or asset management. Because of the overall transit that we are seeing, I expect toward 2023, when Saturn will be in Taurus, to see this remodeling, banking remodulation after the bankruptcy that I expect to see, foundation of new treasuries in a way, and very much about self-sufficiency and regulating of merchandises and resources. In Gemini is regulating all the communication and the media and the mobiles and the devices and the laws of different contracts. It's all about the communication and changes of the atmosphere, because Gemini is very non-constant sign, ruled by Mercury, and Saturn coming there. It's creating more rigidness and trying to control communities, try to control where the freedom, where the hacks were happening in the system. So we'll try to close those gaps, to bring more hermetism, more closed environment in order to control it. And it's not always fun, and it's very much frustrating the trade, frustrating the markets. Also, Saturn in Taurus can be very big challenges for the markets, but it's still the rebuild and the structure of new banks or concept like banks. Saturn in Cancer is also very much depression. Why? Because the fourth house is ruled by the moon, and the moon is representing the people. Because if the 10th house is government ruled by Saturn, the opposite to it, it's the fourth house, is like the people, the civilians. So Saturn is coming after restructuring the environment, and this is something that will be involved with technology and controlling people, environment, and who knows what with the climate change, and then controlling the restructuring the civilians. The boundaries is also applies about wars issues or conflict on borders, is how we are finding and restructuring a solution for homes and for real estate. And this is a period that it's depressing, because the moon is where we are feeling our emotions, and when Saturn there, it's usually requiring us to mature and to be more committed to a place we live. So it also may apply some restrictions of travels and mobilities, but also to force people to take responsibility on their families and on their patriotism concept, to protect their country by the culture. Saturn in Leo, Leo ruled by the sun and ruling the fifth house, is a real battle about self-sovereignty. The sun is the biggest ingredient of sky, and Saturn structure is like they're trying to control the sun, like Bill Gates offered. It's like, let's reduce the heat by creating a sort of a cover, and the structure is like trying to control the human, the instant, the pleasure on earth. Is also censor on sexual activity, censor of, or even regulation about sexuality, and all what is activism of promoting yourself, being yourself. And this is also invitation period for people to create integrity by maturing, to express yourself by own way, and to build a structure to justify it. It's always hard challenge that will lead for great rewards to who will win the challenges to create a structure finally that will be applied into the archetype of the sign. Saturn in Virgo is a period that we have a lot of issues to fix. It's where we can find a need for build on top of ruins, or on places that were well treated. All about work. It's all about regulation of the work, employees, and probably with the years that we are coming, because Saturn and Virgo next will come after the 2030, is about employee force, how we are working and how the robots to take some of the work that are very boring and routinary. Is about restructuring the routinary life, the day-to-day, what we are doing, how we are making routine working, the bread that is coming to your home, or where is your home, and how we are providing food for society. It's how we are preparing, how we are buying. All the grocery thing can be restructured, supermarkets concept, probably the drones and all the things that government will try to restructure to impact our very daily life, and is also about finding solution for complicated situation where people didn't get internet and where people were isolated or not able to dominate themselves. So it's a moment of construction, of fixing issues and holes in the system. This is the period of 2-3 years of Saturn in Virgo. Saturn in Libra is a satisfaction timing for government, arriving to a sort of a status quo agreement, and this is like a moment of the system is working. It's like smoothly after all the holes and the remodeling. Since we begin to measure a cycle from Saturn and Aries, Saturn and Libra is time of, okay, we did it, things are working, now let's let it without disrupt, seeing it working, and is restructuring agreement and allies between businesses, between products, between countries, all the diplomacies, to representatives of different states, different companies, and it's all about balancing. And of course, after balancing, after marriage, come the crisis. Saturn in Scorpio comes after Saturn in Libra. So this is the structure, crisis coming, and this is a moment that we can see all what isn't work, what we need to destroy, and this is time for destroy the parts that aren't working in our life and to let it die, or big part of the system, and it's also related to failure of investments that can collapse. And around this period is another level of depression. We speak about depression in the 8th house and in the 4th house. Here is because the application on people, and here is because the application of investment and loss of trust in many cases in the structure, in order for us to build a better structure and this will lead for restructuring things overseas and opportunities in the ninth house. And Saturn in Sag is a lot of regulation overseas and all what we saw related to globalization and restructuring rules between countries and foreign cultures and restructuring the judgment system and all what was modified in the time of Saturn and Gemini that created split between people, between areas, and how to create and to control little communities. Now it's about how to, after what was failed and crashed, sort of how to grow again out of crisis, but in a greater scale. And this is leading for sort of one world government of Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn in Capricorn, since this will take 30 years to arrive there. Saturn in Capricorn will arrive again in 2050 level, and this is another need for one world government to control a major part of society and technology. And this is also applying for Saturn in Aquarius, that as we are having now recording this video, this will happen again in 30 years from here. And Saturn in Aquarius is all the need for the changes of technology, cryptocurrencies, new ways of interchanging and managing businesses, and using data collection to educate the AI, to educate the robots that want to control in a greater scale what human knows doing so far. So we are just seeing that this part of Saturn in Sag, after out of a crisis that like what we had in 2015, Saturn in Scorpio, then it come opportunities, growing of more businesses and more of online international businesses, creating more of a globalism. Saturn in Sagittarius. Then like in 2019, 2020, Saturn in Capricorn. Then 2021, 2022, Saturn in Aquarius, controlling society, one world government with all this COVID crisis. And this is the cycle of structuring and how people are structuring and restructuring their own life and the way they are traveling far from home, how they are creating businesses in other countries, how they are involving with technology. And of course, Saturn in the 12th house in Pisces is a moment of depression. It's like the governments that wanted to control everything, taking all, and somehow from the crisis that we saw on people in the 4th house, in the 8th house, then in the 12th house, is like a loss of big things that were essential for the system. So this is a time of dissolving. We may see government dissolving and more chaos and hard to create structure, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is our illusion, and Pisces, our illusions, and how the media controlled us and is trying to control the narrative and all the virtual reality and how we are imagining. This is actually the period that we will see more of a virtual reality and the metaverse. This is the period of 2023 to 2026, 5, more lost, but also the call of creating structure inside of a chaos and inside of time that this is not enough for everybody, this is more poverty, and how to sustain ourselves and to create structure in lacking environments, that we can build our dream as well through the web, through the vision that will prepare us to a new period, that banks will remodel themselves. But this is a time of dissolving of also of banks and other structures that was building up for 30 years. And it's very interesting to look on history to see each sign, how the structure of the world involved to be able to apply it further. I think the idea is clear with the same archetypes coming back, how we are taking Saturn, that we understand the ruler of what, the ruler of Capricorn, the structure, governments, and karma, consequences, rewards, and to apply it on the archetypes of each zodiac that is repeating itself and receives a new color to interpret. In the next video, we are going to speak about Pluto in few signs, not all, because Pluto is very slow and takes 240 years to complete a cycle, so we don't need to discuss all this for our mission to find the AstroFinance logic. And Neptune also will be on limited signs that are related to our timing now, and both are speaking, those are interpersonal planet, so they are speaking about the environment in the world, and this will be interesting. So until the next one,